Let everybody know, we've been and I think we'll get more information at the end of the meeting, but we're going to go ahead and continue to delay. Vice Mayor Sachs is also delayed, so since this project is taking place in District 5, I think it's really important to have the district commissioner involved. So we're going to go ahead and accommodate that as well. So I appreciate and thank you all for your patience. We will get this going as soon as we can get everybody here. But we are ready to continue on. So we are on item 9 and 10 of our agenda, and we have had our applicant's presentation. We will now hear from staff. Do we need, same thing on the land use?
Well, because this is the first of the essential housing projects coming through, we had a little bit more of just
Okay.
An overview, but we can be brief. We have
No
Jerry
worries.
Lodge here to go over it.
Okay, thank you very much.
And,
We'll get an overview from planning staff, and then we'll get zoning.
Here we go. Good morning. I'm Jerry Lodge with the Planning Division. This amendment is Logan Ranch Residential, but beforehand, I'd like to go over the essential housing future land use designation, which was adopted last August. So since the recommendations of the Ag Reserve Plan were adopted into the comprehensive plan, residential development in the tier has been limited to 1 unit per 5 acres. However, there has been additional options allowing 1 unit per acre in the form of 2 planned development options. First is the 80-20 AGR PUD, and the second is the 60-40 AGR PUD, which both have strict guidelines in regards to minimum acreage requirements, in addition to preserve requirements. Additionally, each of the marketplaces are approved for multifamily development. However, those units have not yet been built. Residential development in the tier has primarily been accomplished through the use of the 60-40 AGR PUDs, which is mainly single-family homes. The essential housing flu was a result of multiple text and land use amendment requests seeking high-density residential development with workforce housing components in the tier. The board directed staff to create a new future land use for higher densities. The essential housing future land use designation was created and established policies for high-density residential requests in the tier, allowing up to 8 units per acre based on the total acreage, and also requires 25% workforce housing contribution. All right, so specifically, any site requesting EH must meet these following criteria: a minimum of 30 acres, a 60% preserve area, a minimum of all units to be 25% of all units to be provided as workforce housing. If the development exceeds 200 units, it requires varied stories within the development, and locational criteria, which is fronting either Atlantic Avenue or Boynton Beach Boulevard from a half mile west of Lyons Road to the Turnpike. So this map illustrates properties along Atlantic Avenue that are eligible to request the essential housing future land use based on the adopted locational and minimum acreage criteria. Reserve at Atlantic, you see there, was adopted prior to the creation of the EH flu. And this map shows the remaining properties eligible to request EH future land use along Boynton Beach Boulevard, including the subject of this amendment, Logan Ranch. The locational criteria for essential housing flu was based on board direction to focus higher densities or multifamily development on major corridors in proximity to commercial uses and nodes. And now for the site-specific amendment, Logan Ranch Residential. The site is just under 40 acres and located on the southeast corner of Boynton Beach Boulevard, Acme Dairy Road. The applicant is requesting to change the future land use from AGR to essential housing and retaining the underlying AGR. And the concurrent zoning application is requesting to rezone the site from AGR to MUPD in order to develop 314 multifamily units with a gross density of 8 units per acre. I would also like to point out that, as Brian mentioned, this is the first essential housing application that you've heard. All right, so here is the corridor of Boynton Beach Boulevard with the site outlined in red. All of the green you see, all the future land uses are AGR. On the northwest corner of Acme Dairy Road and Boynton Beach Boulevard is a commercial low with underlying AGR, as well as institutional with underlying AGR. Further west are more commercial uses, including the Canyon Town Center and Cobblestone Plaza, MUPD. Further east of the site, across the Turnpike, is the urban suburban tier. And just west of the site, we have the elementary school and the new middle school, in addition to the new Canyon District Park. North of the site is BC Commerce Center, which you had just heard last on the agenda. And on the east side of the site is Erickson Boynton Beach. which is requesting the institutional and public facilities with underlying congregate living residential future land use. All right, so staff's assessment is that the amendment is consistent with the essential housing FLU as it meets the criteria established by the board, including the locational and acreage criteria, and is proposing the 60% preserve area on site. In addition to that, it's providing 25% workforce housing, which equals 79 units. This also assists with housing diversity in the tier by offering a higher density, multifamily type of product. In addition, this use is considered compatible with the surrounding area as it's located adjacent to or directly across from the two schools and the park, and also some employment generating uses. Staff is recommending approval with conditions, and Planning Commission recommended approval with conditions as proposed by staff. The board transmitted this item in a 7-0 vote at the February 1st transmittal hearing earlier this year, and as a result of the state review, the Florida Department of Transportation did provide some technical comments, more of assistance comments, not really issues, but they were related to increasing user safety and reducing any potential for future deficiencies regarding the Turnpike interchange operation. And the motion before you is to adopt an ordinance for the Logan Ranch residential FLUA. And we have a couple conditions. The first is to cap the development with 314 units as proposed in the zoning application, and to require the 25% workforce housing units on site. Condition number 3 is being dropped as you're hearing both of these today, both the zoning and FLU applications. And that's all I have, but zoning is prepared to make their presentation as well.
Thank you. Zoning. Would you like
Yes,
to-
we have Matthew with us today. I believe it might be his first presentation.
Welcome, Matthew. You shouldn't have said that. I think now.
Thank
But
you.
welcome, and we're excited to hear what you have to say to us.
All right. I'll try to make it brief. Good afternoon, commissioners. Again, my name is Matthew Boyd with the Zoning Division. I'm here to present PDD 2022-1755 Logan Ranch Residential. As planning and the applicant have already went over, the subject site is 39.24 acres located at the southeast corner of Boynton Beach Boulevard and Acme Dairy Road. This application is contingent on the item number 9, the FLU amendment application LGA 2023-14 for a FLU designation change for FLU designation from agricultural reserve to essential housing with underlining agricultural reserve. The two requests the applicant has is one for a official zoning map amendment to allow the rezoning from agricultural reserve to multiple use plan development on the 39.24 acres, and a type 2 variance to allow the 100% overlap within the preserved parcels, which was approved with a vote of 6-0 with a recusal by Commissioner Beatty during the zoning commission on August 3rd. As discussed before, the existing zoning is agricultural reserve. To the north is agricultural reserve. To the east, as well as agricultural reserve. To the south of the site is agricultural reserve planned unit development, and then to the west of the proposed site is MUPD, multiple use plan development. The current site is the current proposed preliminary site plan indicates a proposed 60/40 development with 40% of the site, that's 15.44 acres of development area totaling 314 dwelling units with 6 4-story multifamily buildings totaling 264 units and 50 two-story multifamily townhome-like structures. The remaining 60% of the site is split into 2 preserved parcels that wrap around the site on the north, west, and south of the property. To date, staff has received 4 contacts from the public regarding this application. 3 were to inquire about the proposed development, and 1 was in opposition of an engineering condition, which has now been deleted from the conditions. At the August 3rd Zoning Commission hearing, this item was part of the regular agenda. Five comment cards were submitted in support, with 4 speakers voicing concern in regards to the said engineering condition that has been removed, and 1 chose not to speak. Subsequent to the Zoning Commission hearing, staff has coordinated with the agent on modifications to the conditions of approval, and staff recommends approval of the requests subject to the conditions of approval indicated in Exhibit C1 to C2 on pages 11 to 16. This ends my presentation. If staff is here to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions, staff? Let's see, I think Commissioner Baxter and then Vice Mayor Sachs.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Great job, by the way.
Thank you.
Did you happen to have the traffic numbers for this project?
I do not, but we do have traffic here that could assist with that.
You want the trips from the project? There will be 1,536 net daily trips, 118 in the morning peak hour, and 129 in the PM peak hour.
When the traffic study was done, did it include the school that was nearby?
Yeah, all
That's
those
been in-
background trips are part of the existing counts.
And because we just approved the project across the street earlier, was that also included?
Yeah, they are all included.
Just making sure. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor, you recognize.
Thank you. Where's that young man was his friend? You're not done yet, Phil. Come on up here, sir. No. It didn't happen that easily.
Yes.
In your discourse here, you discussed that they could have agriculture to allow agricultural uses within the preserve in addition to the passive park. Would that mean that they could have such as a community garden in addition to the area that is required for them to have as a passive park?
Yes, the passive park is allowed in the preserve, and
Yes.
the community garden is allowed.
Okay, now, my question is this, and I'm reading from it, and to allow agricultural uses within the preserve in addition to the passive park. So we've seen the green areas of the passive park. The question is, can they have a community garden, which would be an agricultural use, outside of the passive park that would be in addition to the passive park?
They're not proposing any additional land area. They just want the option to use some of the green space that they show on the site plan. If we can go back a slide, Valerie. Oops, too much. There you go. The green space, unfortunately, it's black and white, but the green space is up at the front along the bottom there, and then on the far right, although north is left. They want the option to use that green space, and I can see Jennifer coming over. She's probably going to show her colorful slide. They want the option to use that for green space as a passive park or for community garden or agricultural uses, but it wouldn't be additional land area. It would just be an additional use.
So when we discuss in addition to the passive park, we don't mean passive park and agricultural use, such as a community garden.
Correct.
What you really mean in there is to have a community garden within the passive park.
Correct.
Okay, very good, very good. And is that, and I'm looking at this gentleman here, sir, is that also part of the plan that you reviewed, that there would be a community garden, which would be, quote, agricultural use within the passive park?
Community garden wasn't discussed in there. As Lisa and Woody have stated, that is a use that's allowed within the agricultural.
Okay, thank you. I was just messing with you a little
Yeah.
bit. You did really
It-
good. So it's easy from here on in. Thank you, appreciate it. Lisa, let me ask you a couple of questions here then. In the, so they would be within the requirements of the 60/40 if they put agricultural uses within that passive park?
Correct.
And the community, well, I guess I would ask Jennifer on these other items, but, okay. All right, thank you, Mayor.
You're
I'll
welcome.
ask Jennifer.
Okay. All right, let's do disclosures now, and then we'll go to public comment. So let's go ahead and we'll start with Commissioner Barnett.
Thank you, Mayor. For item number 10, I had verbal communications with Jennifer Morton, Brett Gelsomino, Steve Wallace, Debbie Murphy, Barbara Roth, Dagmar Bras. We have correspondence to receive and file. No site visit. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. For item number 10, I had verbal communication with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, and Brett Gelsomino, and also email correspondence.
Thank you. Commissioner Marino.
Thank you. On this item, I met with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, and Brett Gelsomino, and I received emails from the applicant and the public.
Thank you. Commissioner Baxter, down there all by yourself.
Thanks. My office received an email, which has been filed with the clerk. Verbally, my office met with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, no site visit.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I had communications and speaking with Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, Brett Gelsomino, as well as emails that have been filed with the clerk.
Thank you. And for my own disclosure, I had verbal communication with Brett Gelsomino, Jennifer Morton, Lauren McClellan, and email correspondence that has been filed with the clerk. All right, so we've done disclosures. We can now move on to public comment. And again, if you're in support and you just want to say you're in support, that's great. If you're not in support and you want to just say that, that's great as well. But we appreciate everybody coming out today and want to hear your comments.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming back after lunch. We have 15 comment cards, 10 are in support, 5 are opposed, and we have 5 non-speaking cards, which are all in support. So if you'll take both mics, Joe Mulvihill, followed by Jim Knight. Do you want to talk or not? Okay, they make that 6 speaking cards, but you're in favor, right? Okay. Joe Mulvihill, Brett Gelsomino, Tim Linkus, Drew Martin. Those are the first 4 cards.
Good afternoon, Commissioners and Mayor and Vice Mayor. Joe Mulvihill, 9821 Happy Hollow Road. I'm just saying I'm in support for this project. The Logan family are long-term landowners, just like me and the other few people that are left, and I hope you approve the project. They're a great family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Brett Gelsomino, 4200 Southwest 131st Ave. I am the developer of this project, and wanted to thank the commission and the staff for their patience and their collaborative thought as we've advanced this project and the concept of this policy over the last 2.5 years. Honored to be here with today's request, which is the culmination of a lot of that hard work and compromise and balancing a lot of complex issues and concerns, not the least of which is that housing should not be an aspirational luxury. It should be a very basic need attainable by everybody, and we recognize that here in Palm Beach County as our growth has outpaced the growth of many wages, especially middle-class America. And I'm happy to bring forth the first essential housing project in Palm Beach County to bring housing within reach, safe, comfortable, quality housing for our constituents. I look forward to the continued productive dialogue with the staff and the commission as we advance this project, and we eagerly await getting a shovel in the ground and bringing these housing units to market. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. My name is Tim Linkus, 8289 West Point Beach Boulevard. I've been a neighbor across the street from the Logans for 43 years. Wonderful people. I am in full support of this. Just to let you know that we had a meeting, goes back many years. There was, Mrs. Logan was there, Barbara Ladrell was there, Steve and Rose Holmrich, Joe Mulvihill, Pat Ford, and it was with Commissioner Bert Aronson back in the time, just to let you know how far back this goes. So thank you so much, and I hope you support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Drew Martin with the Loxetchi Group, and I was not chased down by drunken dogs. I managed to spill my lunch on me. And I said to them, how do we know you support the project? Who speaks dog, you know? We obviously oppose this, not because we don't want to see the Logans sell their land, which they're more than welcome to do, and nobody's preventing them from selling their land. They just have to sell it at the market price. We think there should be agriculture in this area, and that the more you take agriculture away, and we had many, many meetings about this about 10 years ago. In fact, I canceled a vacation to attend one of them, which I regret to this day because I thought it would do some good, and it didn't. But, you know, they can sell it, and it can be hemp, very productive. Hemp can be eaten, and it can be used for clothing, and it can be used to generate energy. And, you know, so we're really hurting our economy. Now, as far as affordable housing goes and workforce housing, I mean, everybody knows it's not really affordable. And I was a teacher, and it's about 5 times what I could afford for a house. And it's certainly, you know, we welcome that there's going to be additional housing on the market, but the reality is it isn't going to solve the problem. And the only way to solve the problem is going to basically be to build high-rise housing like they're doing, taking high-rises in places like Kansas City. I saw that, Kansas, Missouri, and they don't have anybody living or utilizing these workspaces, and so now they're using it for housing. And that's where you're going to create your affordable housing. And it's going to have to be basically almost free because the majority of people in Palm Beach County can't afford, you know, the rents or the price of housing. So, you know, I mean, I think it's great to talk about that, but I mean, you have to really be serious and have some real solid ideas. And certainly Miami is not the example of what we want to see in Palm Beach County. So, you know, as nice as it is for the gentleman to come up here from Miami, I'm surprised he can make it up here without being stuck in traffic for 24 hours, which is what we don't want to have happen here. We don't want to have the serious traffic problems. We don't want to have the fires. We don't want to have the floods. And we don't want to have people trapped in their homes. So I hope that after your nice long lunch, that you had a chance to mull this over and you're going to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail Ladd, followed by Barbara Roth, Steve Holmrich, and Cece Fazio.
Good afternoon. I'm Gail Ladd. It's good to see you all again. No one can argue against workforce housing or affordable housing, but this is not the place for it. The Ag Reserve needs to be more agricultural, and I'm just wondering, when you say preserve, that's after everything has been destroyed, and then you put things back. I've just been noticing some things along I-95 up near where I live in Jupiter, and they completely took out all the trees, all the grass, all the animals, everything. It's down to dirt. And then they're going to put grass back, and they say it's preserving. That's not my knowledge of preserving. You can say all you want about that. It's better than nothing. It's better than concrete. But I don't see this. I really hope that you think about putting workforce housing, more affordable housing, where there are empty buildings, abandoned buildings, redo, like as Mr. Martin has just said. Let's think about new ways of doing things. And I am wondering, why is it only 25%? Everybody should be able to afford. I couldn't afford to live here now. I've been here 30 years. I could not afford to buy a house here. It's only because I live in the same house that I've lived in. So that is definitely a serious problem. The workforce housing is definitely needed, but not here in the Ag Reserve. So I'm asking you to please oppose this. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Roth?
Oh, Brian, may I? May I ask your indulgence to start the clock? Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Thank you all very much. To be Barbara Roth, representing Cobra today, and my colleague Dagmar had to leave. To be very clear, Cobra supports both uses. I had to check the box, I checked oppose, but we certainly are in support of essential housing in Palm Beach County and in the Ag Reserve. At the time this was proposed, we wrote letters in support of it, as we did for the commerce use across the street. So that has to be stated. In addition, for 42 years, Cobra has supported the growth and development to meet the needs of residents as they were spreading west from the Cobra Eastern line, which is Military Trail and Lawrence Road, all the way west to the Ag Reserve. And it's because of Cobra, I have to say, that we have a library that's being built, that we have the schools out there, that we have the hospital and the parks. It's because Cobra advocated strongly with this board and prior boards for those uses. We understand the need. What we're asking, however, is that you use what you have discretionary powers that are really so valuable, and we would ask that you consider our request to limit the height. Now, I know what you're going to hear back, because Ms. Morton has an opportunity for rebuttal. I do not, but 38 feet allows for a 3-story development with some additional accoutrements to make the roof line interesting. You could have various heights if you had 2- and 3-story buildings, and that buffer could be reduced from 800 feet to maybe 625 feet, while still allowing the same number of units if another building could be accommodated. We are very concerned about precedent. We know that Erickson is coming in, and we just may find ourselves faced with 4 and 5 stories. We support this use. We're asking, and by the way, just up the road, and it wasn't in the Ag Reserve, it was in Villages of Windsor, Ms. Morton, with a 3-story building, is absolutely including an elevator. I know that's being done at Tropical World with an elevator, maximum 3 stories. Nobody's building 3 stories in these areas without an elevator. So we ask you please to consider some accommodation while understanding that Cobra supports the use entirely. Thank you.
Vice Mayor, you recognize.
Thank you. Ms. Roth? Ms. Roth? Hi, Barbara.
Oh,
Hi. Almost. You're faster than I thought.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian, by the way.
Usually you're over here.
I should have stayed over there,
We're going to have to
but
put a little plaque there for you.
Okay.
Thank you for staying after lunch and for addressing this issue. And
my
I'm
pleasure.
looking at the letter from Cobra that was written on behalf of Cobra for support of the Logan property. But you're going to stick with the, and I'm sure you've discussed it with Jennifer Morton about the 4 stories to the 3 stories, right? That's an issue And also with regard to making sure that we have lanes, bike paths, sidewalks on Acme Dairy Road and Abruzzo Avenue for safe connectivity. So we will address that. And thank you for bringing it up, because I think they're very good issues. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Vice Mayor. Thank you all.
Thank you. Steve Homerich, followed by Cece Fazio, Ann Matthews, Robbie
Durrell.
Duro?
Durrell.
Durrell? Okay. Thank you.
My name is Cece Durrell Fazio, and my 6 siblings and I, we inherited this part of the Logan property when my parents passed away, but my dad was friends with Tim Logan and another guy, John Vargas, and they had a nursery business for a while. But over the years, different things interfered. It became really unpopular, uneconomical to farm. So I heard speakers talking earlier about, it would be lovely if it was farmed, but we can't find farmers to even lease it for practically nothing. And if we don't farm it, then we don't get the tax exemption. So luckily we were able to find beekeepers, and we have hundreds of hives there, so we get the agricultural tax exemption. In fact, they named the mascot of the school next door the Stingers because of our bees. But anyway, I just wanted to thank you for listening to us over the years, the letters, the emails. My mom used to come to these meetings, and I just appreciate you listening and realizing how important this project is and how great our developer is. He's worked with the community, and everybody seems happy with the project, and I just wanted to thank you. So I'd like you to approve. Thank you very much.
Ann, do you want to speak? Ann Matthews? No. You're in favor? Okay. Robbie Duro? In favor. Joe? In favor. Paul O'Keen, would you like to speak? I would. Thank you, sir. And that's the end of our speaking cards. And all the other comment cards I have here, the non-speaking are in favor.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I am avidly supporting this Logan residential project, as well as the Logan family. I think this is easy. The need for essential housing is dire, particularly in this part of the county. Gated communities along, as everyone knows, along Lyons Road, not terribly affordable. Therefore, there is a shortage, I believe, of career teachers that can live out there, first responders, even young professionals. So I think this is definitely needed, and I think it will be received very well. The Logan family. I had the pleasure of knowing Andy Logan. Much like the other growers that I've mentioned, he was instrumental in my growth as a nurseryman. He was one of the first ones out there, totally iconic, and yes, a legacy grower, a leader, a true gentleman, an honorable man. So I'm very pleased to be here to support the Logan family and this project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's the end of our comment cards.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Marino. Okay, I guess we will now move back to the applicant to see if you have any comments regarding any of the comments that were made.
Jennifer Morton, not really. I think I wasn't sure if I pointed out the fact that with the approval of BARC, that included the 2 communities directly south of the project, and they support the project as presented with the 800-foot separation, with the 2-story and the 4-story product. So I think we're delivering a project that we've been able to address all the concerns and also deliver quality housing to Palm Beach County. So, thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Sacks, you're recognized.
Thanks for staying up there, Jennifer.
Yes.
I want to thank you and Brett Gelsomino for working so competently with the neighbors and with the Logan family. Is it going to be named Logan Family or Logan Residences?
Logan Ranch, I think that's the name that they're
Very nice.
considering, yes.
Yeah, as a legacy farmer, he seemed like it's a very good family. A couple of specific questions, if
Sure.
I could. And we've talked about this many, many times. That is a daycare center, since this is family housing, and the community center, which you're going to have.
Yes.
What will be there?
So that would be a clubhouse that would have the fitness center, also room for kids, childcare to play, not the definition in, as a daycare center, but we will have rooms for the kids. We'll have a workout room. We'll have, actually Brett's here. He can probably tell you a little bit more detail
He
what
knows
he's
about
planning,
kids.
but
What I'm concerned about is this. We're going to have young families here.
That's right.
Probably working families.
Hope so.
And it's so wonderful to have a daycare center because there are no available spaces in any daycare center in Palm Beach right now. I know because I'm operating one in my home, right? So wouldn't it be nice if mom and dad are working, that they know that they could have childcare center right there where they live, and that way, and only for the community. This would be something that you would certainly consider?
Absolutely.
And, okay, good. So that's in. It's in. Okay, very good. And while you're there, too, and I think we've been over this before, the 79 units that will be for affordable housing, they'll be scattered within the entire area?
They'll be evenly distributed throughout the property, indistinguishable physically from a market rate unit. They just kind of float on paper. If a resident walks in the door and wants a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, they show their, tax return, and they are eligible for whatever the
It's excellent.
fixed
I
rate is,
really
yes.
appreciate that. I like it, so it's not segregated in another
I don't like
area.
that either.
Okay. And one other thing is a community garden. This has come up just recently, to be able to have, and part of it is the soil. Would you consider also as part of this, to have a community garden there in the passive area? I think it would be a very good thing for continuing the agricultural, sort of idea of this area too. And it would be good for the residents to have.
Absolutely. So, it's something I didn't point out, but for every 1 acre we develop, 1.5 acres go into conservation with a perpetual easement to the benefit of the county, and the permissible uses include agricultural. Something that I would love to do is try to activate this in a way that gets people, the public and our residents, in touch with the very rich agricultural history of this region of Palm Beach County, including a community farm or garden like Arden. So it's not perfected in design yet because we candidly just haven't conceptualized it fully, but the idea of having a little red barn with a couple acres of, planter beds and things like that to activate it is
Really?
Absolutely in our vision.
That would really be nice. And then one other thing is the, I think that's about it. Oh, yes, when Cobra, in their letter, was very specific with regard to connectivity. And I love the idea. So I'm sure you're going to have bicycle paths and access so that people can get around the community in segregated bicycle paths or, those electric scooters for the kids and young adults so that they could get around. And that would also be good, right, Brett?
That's right.
Okay, very good. I love it. Thank you very much. No further questions.
All right. Any other comments or questions from the board? I'm not seeing any. We'll start with item number 9. Somebody like to make a motion? Go right ahead.
Could I make a motion? I want to make sure that I read this correctly. So I have staff right in front of me. For on number 9, the Logan Ranch Residential, I'd like to move to adopt an ordinance approving a Logan Ranch residential flu amendment.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Mayor Sachs to approve the Logan Ranch residential FLUA amendment, and a second by Commissioner Marino. Is there any further discussion on this item? Seeing none. All in favor? All opposed? That motion carries 7-0. Okay, we'll move on now to item number 10. What? Oh, I'm sorry, yes, thank you. 6-0, I can't count. And we should just note for the record that Commissioner Bernard has left the dais. Okay, thank you, and thank you very much. Okay, moving on to item number 10. This is the companion zoning item.
Could I make a motion at this time?
We would love to have your motion.
Thank you very much. I would move to adopt a resolution approving item 10A.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Sachs approving item 10A, adopting a resolution, and that is seconded by Commissioner Marino. Is there any further discussion on this item? I don't see any. So all in favor, all opposed, that motion carries 6-0. All right, so with that, we are at the end of our agenda. Item 11 has been postponed till next week.
Good.
And we will go to comments. So, let me. What's it? County Attorney?
No comments.
Let's see, do we start with Planning Director?
No comments.
Zoning Director?
No comments.
Executive Director? Assistant County Administrator?
I just want to say, I know the official action was taken by the board and county administrator on Tuesday, but I wanted to welcome Whitney in this venue as our PZB director, 2 days on the job permanently, and counting.
All right, thank you. Anything else, sir? All right. So we are going to move on to board comments. So we can start with Commissioner Baxter. Oh, you want?
Thank you, Mayor.
I felt bad because you're down there by yourself.
That's okay. So I wanted to, without objection, direct staff to extend the RFI that's out on the 128 acres to the end of October, because we haven't, I'd like to give people more time to submit on the RFI. For the racetrack.
Assistant County Administrator?
That doesn't create any problem, does it?
I apologize, I was writing that down. Absolutely, I'll pass that information along, yes.
Thank you. And then also, there was brought to my attention a workforce housing project that is potentially going to go into Pahokee, but they were asking about having some of that, having some help from the county. So I'd like to ask if we could put that on a future agenda so we could all hear about it and decide if we would like to help them.
Understand, yes, and I think there might be a little bit more to it, but let me confirm with your office the details of that, and we'll be in touch.
Okay, thank you. And that's it for now. Thanks.
All right. Okay, let's go to Commissioner Marino.
I have no comments.
All right, Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to apologize for the delay in returning to today's meeting. I wrote this down because I wanted to get it right. I'd like to address an incident that occurred regarding the county's removal of several roadside memorials in both mine and Vice Mayor Sachs' districts. I'm asking for patience as we work to understand all the facts that led to the decision for removal. I'm in communication with county staff and expect to have a more detailed and accurate assessment very soon. To all the families affected, please know that I take this seriously and I understand your concerns. I can only imagine the loss you have suffered, and I'm working to get the answers you deserve. Until then, I would like to reserve any further comments I have until I've spoken to all parties involved, and I thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, Commissioner Barnett.
No comments, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor Sachs.
Thank you, Mayor. I think today was very good because staff worked tirelessly on these issues in the Ag Reserve, zoning, planning, and also my colleagues in understanding this very unique area. I think we all represent unique areas in the county. We think we do. The bottom line is that we're all Palm Beach County. We're all neighborhoods. We're all communities. And I think we're all trying very hard to make us all one community, a little bit like a river flowing. You know, a river flows through everything. It doesn't know any boundaries or distinctions between one district and another. And I want to thank the staff, Lisa and everybody on the staff, and I want to thank my colleagues for understanding that regardless of what's District 5 or District 6 or 7, we're all one community, we're all Palm Beach County. And lastly, I want to thank Commissioner Woodward for working on this issue today, and I know that it will be resolved for the best of everybody. And thank you. We took a little time, so we had to delay a bit, but we'll get a resolution of it. Things happen. That's why we're here. This is not a job where things run smoothly all the time, but it is a job where we are trying to serve the interests of all the people in the county, and so that's it. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I just want to thank our planning and zoning staff, our county attorney. As always, excellent presentations, excellent work on your your staffs, working with our applicants, working with our community to try and make the best decisions possible. So I think we all very much appreciate everybody's work. And that's all I have. I want to thank my colleagues today as well. We had a busy week. We had 3 meetings this week, and we have a busy week next week. And so anyways, but thank you all, and everybody have a great weekend. And this meeting is adjourned.